All right, good evening, everyone. I think we'll get started in a moment, and I'll do introductions in a minute, but want to thank you all for coming to this workshop tonight and braving the elements on this April evening, and wanted to start off with a couple of housekeeping items. I trust most of you have already found the pizza, which is great. Restrooms are located to my right over here. And wanted to thank you and thank the town of Yarmouth for hosting our first public workshop for the Reimagining Route 1 project. This is a corridor study of Route 1 going from Freeport all the way to Biddeford. So 9 communities, a lot of different types of transportation infrastructure and different land uses along that corridor. My name is Chris Chop. I'm the Transportation Director with the Greater Portland Council of Governments, and I'm supported by a team here tonight of GPCOG staff. We've got Shukriya, who leads our public engagement efforts. You want to raise your hand, Shukriya? We have Laura next to Shukriya, who does public transit and also electrification. Over here, Christian Roadman, housing and land use. And I think and Belinda Ray, one of our team leads and fearless leader on this project. And then we're also supported by a consultant team in Tool Design Group, and that is led by Jen Ladd to my right, resident of Scarborough, and a couple other team members, Tom and Carl here as well. And I'll turn it over to Jen to introduce her team and then also get into the agenda for this evening. But we really want to hear from you, so it's a pretty quick presentation on our end, and then more of a workshop format. And at any point, get up and grab yourself some water, some pizza, and thanks again for coming. Go ahead, Jen.
Thanks, Chris. I will continue on by actually having the rest of the team here from Tool Design introduce themselves.
Thanks, Jen. My name's Tom Nozel. I'm a project engineer. I live in Portland. I'm here to learn from you all tonight, and then as the project goes along and moves into the concept design phase, I'll be a bit more involved.
And my name's Carl Epic. I'm a principal planner with Tool, and I also used to work for GPCOG, and I'm very familiar with the corridor. Done some projects here over the years, and we'll be here to aid and provide some background assistance as we go through the evening.
Great, thanks. And as Chris mentioned, my name is Jen Ladd. I'm a senior engineer with Tool Design Group, and we are working in partnership with GPCOG on this project. And all three of us actually live in these communities too. So we have, we share that with you, and that we are residents as well. But as professionals on the project, we're deeply interested in your feedback on the corridor in your own backyard, so to speak. So as Chris mentioned, we have pizza in the back. If you haven't had any yet, we'll give you a minute in a second to go grab some of that. After, we'll do this brief presentation, and following our presentation, we will sort of dismiss you all a bit to these activity centers, and I will go over what each of those entail a little bit later, but as a bit of a teaser, the idea is that this is a bit more interactive on your part than maybe your typical public meeting, and so we're looking not only for your input, but to get you engaged and to have a little bit of fun while we share some information with you and you share some information with us. Lastly, on your way out, if you haven't already, we have a stack of postcards. Well, I should back up. On your way in, we hope that you have signed in on the sign-in sheet. If you haven't, please feel free to do that at any point during the evening. And then on your way out, we have a stack of postcards with a QR code on it that will direct you to the website for this project. And you can follow along. We will be periodically over the course of the project providing project updates there. There's some mapping information and a survey that will be coming out in the future. So with that, I will go back to Carl to help us understand what we're doing here. Why are we doing this? Why are we reimagining Route 1?
Thanks, Jen. Let's see. Everybody hear me okay? It's a fairly small room, but I'll try not to be too loud. So reimagining Route 1, I'm going to take you through a brief history because part of the point of this whole project is that Route 1 is an evolving and has been an evolving corridor. If we look back quite a ways, we can see that it was, it predates the turnpike, and that's an important detail. On this one, though, this first slide, we just wanted to kind of set the context that the communities collectively, there's 9 along the corridor from Biddeford here all the way up to Freeport, collectively through a regional meeting in 2023, decided that Route 1 was an important asset and something that needed to be worked on together. It's very different as you transcend the 40 miles, but it's really a corridor that, as we have here, is a place that they want to increase safety, establish better connections for vehicles, bicycles, pedestrians, users in general, and to identify development opportunities. About 10 years ago or so, GPCOG and PACS identified a concept of priority centers, and there are 9 along this corridor, places that already have something that's important to build on, a place to concentrate development, walkability, bikeability, jobs, economic development so far. And so to do this and figure out how to reimagine the corridor together, and how to integrate community into Route 1 and Route 1 to come out to the communities. And the desires of the residents along the corridor, both residents, users, and people who may work here. I kind of covered this. Route 1 travels through 9 communities, and this is from Biddeford north to Freeport. The boards we have today are really Portland to Freeport, but if there's something you have in mind about south of Portland, we can incorporate that as well. And this all is related to GPCOG's Connect 2045, which is the long-range plan for the region. We're looking at land use and transportation infrastructure along Route 1, so housing's fair, transit's fair, jobs, places to redevelop, and we'll focus on these 9 priority centers, which will be identified on the maps. So the fun part, I was tasked with looking back at Route 1 and kind of the evolution of the corridor. And believe it or not, it's 100 years old this year, before 1926, birthday party. That was a time when it was very difficult to go up and down the coast, and federal government appropriated funds to develop the first, highway system, and we got Route 1. And the first image you can see there in the upper left-hand corner is Vaughn's Bridge. Vaughn's Bridge in Portland doesn't exist anymore, but it was a very fancy, sophisticated, modern bridge that connected Portland with South Portland. And a number of bridges were required to connect the whole corridor. By the 30s, Route 1 was known as the backbone, and things like the Saco Theater, the Saco Drive-In Theater, many drive-in theaters came about. It was an auto-oriented corridor. That's one of the only and oldest existing drive-ins in the country, and definitely in Maine. It's, I think it was sold, and I'm scared to say that it may not be lasting too much longer, but the whole point is that the corridor was auto-oriented, and auto-oriented businesses, gas stations, drive-ins, motels and hotels were sprung up along the corridor. And only 20 years later, by 1947, they determined, the early 40s, that we needed the Maine Turnpike. And the Maine Turnpike opened in 1947, connecting Kittery with Portland. And it later became I-95 in the 1950s when the interstate program was born. The images on the right side of the slide kind of show the evolution of Route 1. We've, for example, replaced the Martins Point Bridge, which now has a multi-use path on it down in the connection between Falmouth and Portland. Intersections have been upgraded. They've been widened. They don't look anything like the intersections did back in the 20s, but they accommodate the traffic in the places where it's desired. Right here, right outside this building, the bridge just off to your right, my left, DOT replaced on Route 1 a handful of years ago, and those of you from Yarmouth may remember that there was a discussion about whether or not to bring it down to grade or to leave it up high. And what happened in the end is it still became an interesting place. I know it's important for the Clam Festival. Let's see, there's been planning up in Freeport recently to reimagine their downtown. I think it's called the Vision Plan, Downtown Vision Plan for Freeport. And that they're considering a shared road, a shared space, someplace that's truly for cars and for pedestrians. That's kind of the the universe of possibilities. There's more that you can imagine, but all these will require trade-offs if you're talking about converting a downtown from a place to get through easily with vehicles, with motorized vehicles, versus a place where you should expect people in the roadway. Ton of planning has been done, as I previously mentioned, over the last 8 years. A number of plans. I'm not going to go through them all, but transit plans, long-range plans, pedestrian bike plans, multi-use plans. Freeport completed a multi-use trail plan with Tool last year. These are all ideas that are illustrative of the corridor is evolving over time, and this is an opportunity to think about the corridor as a place that something different can happen that's there today, and what's the best to preserve, and what's the best that's going to be needed in the future. I think I've covered everything. Is this going to Belinda? Yeah. Thank you.
The role of GPCOG. Hi, I'm Belinda. I am from GPCOG, Greater Portland Council of Governments, and we are a regional planning agency here in your region. Yarmouth is a member community of GPCOG. We have 29 communities that we represent, 9 of them along this corridor. We work together with elected leaders, municipal managers, to help the region work together to help municipalities tackle things that have a regional impact and to help them do things together that they can't necessarily do alone. So we really try to look regionally at things, and that's part of why we are looking regionally at Route 1 now. On this project, we are the project manager. We are working with Tool, who is our fabulous consultant. They've created all these beautiful boards, this presentation. They've got some fun and games here for you tonight. We act as the liaison between the consultant and our municipalities. We're helping to coordinate the project, helping to collect data. We are helping in the process when we get there of making recommendations about what are the projects along Route 1 that are the highest priority, that are feasible to achieve in the next 5 to 10 years, and to kind of get a ranked list together. And we're going to work with Tool on that. And also, once the plan is out, we will help work with communities to implement these projects, to help find funding opportunities, get these projects into the plans that they need to be in to be eligible for funding. And that is really our role on the project. Short and sweet. Just like me, I have to stand on my toes. So.
I'm not much better, but I'm going to try not to stand on my toes. Okay. Short people of the world. Okay, so Belinda touched a little bit on some of the project specifics of this Reimagining Route 1 project that Tool and GPCOG are partnered on. I'll try not to reiterate, but I'll go over a couple of other aspects of the project. You know, we on the slide after this, I'll go through the specific tasks that we are charged with here. But just knowing that we are partway through the project, and so you are hearing from us now because this is sort of our first engagement, our first touch point with the public. And you know, we have been working with our GPCOG colleagues to date on understanding and sort of defining some of these priorities, constraints, and objectives for the project overall. You know, first and foremost, we are interested in developing a corridor that is more complete and safe and provides for all modes of transportation, and incorporating feedback like we will receive tonight from you and from other stakeholder meetings that we will be having in the future is really important, so that it's not just a team of engineers and folks from away that are telling you what is going to make your community safer. We want to know where to start, and to make sure that we are on the mark with developing projects that are consistent with your vision and what you want in your community. We recognize that we don't have a blank slate here, that Route 1 exists now and has for quite some time, as Coral just explained to us. And with that comes, existing buildings and finite right-of-way limits, and public opinion and things that your communities have tried that maybe haven't been successful, and maybe we can help work towards some options that haven't been tried yet, but that will be successful. And, again, the consistent theme that you have heard in terms of the overall objective for this project is just that we have a consistent vision, a comprehensive approach to this corridor, so that it's not, Route 1 doesn't look one way in Cumberland and entirely different in Saco, but that we try to strike up the right balance between what each of those communities need, but provide a consistent approach along the corridor itself. And in addition to that, you will also hear and see and do in some of these activity centers tonight. We'll be talking a lot about transportation, but also the housing elements and some electrification elements that become very important when we talk about more than just cars and what happens in the street. It's all connected. So these are the tasks. I'm not going to go through these in too much detail, but just to know that we have, I will highlight here the task 2, the data collection and analysis, that Belinda referred to. GPCOG has done a tremendous amount of data collection and provided our team with a huge amount of tools that we are really looking forward to making available to the public in the form of an interactive map. So that's another piece of this project that will be forthcoming. We have studied all of these plans listed here and many, many, many others. There is a lot of them, so we want to make sure that we are not reinventing the wheel here, that we are building upon good work that has already been done in your communities and being consistent with that while achieving the objectives for this overall project. And then really just to highlight, we are currently in the process of task 4 here, which is this engagement piece. We have this meeting tonight here in Yarmouth. Next Tuesday on the 15th, we will be taking our show on the road. We'll be down in Scarborough talking with the communities to the south. And then on April 30th at noontime, we also have a virtual version of this, a little bit compressed, a little less interactive. We can't quite do Legos online, but it'll be fun also. There'll be some other activities just to make sure that we are doing comprehensive outreach and that we're not excluding anyone that can't come in person. There's that option to participate virtually as well. And moving forward, again, as Belinda alluded to, we will ultimately be developing some conceptual plans for this corridor and assessing and applying prioritization criteria to that so that we can help GPCOG in the region, but also your communities understand where the highest priorities are and which projects we should put up front for funding and things of that nature. Okay, now the fun part. We are here to hear from you, not to come here and hear ourselves talk. So we're trying to keep this brief, the first part. I will just briefly explain to you what each of the different centers are, and then the idea is that you will, there's no right or wrong order, and we would like you to sort of walk around and read the timeline, take the quiz, and provide us with some of your input at some of these other stations. Yes, question?
A quick process question, and that is, has the town staff been involved? There's been no mention of them, and I wonder what their role has been to date. I see you haven't been doing this in a bubble.
Oh, right. So the question is about the level of involvement by town staff to date. And I will say, but I will allow Belinda to chime in if she would like to. As you heard earlier, in some regard, this started with town staff talking about the need for this project. So not in a vacuum in that way. GPCOG has also done some preliminary outreach with local municipal staff, and we will be meeting with them directly. Yes, also, and certainly, inviting them to these engagement sessions and working with them. Yes, on a close in a close way to make sure that just because we read all of the plans that are, published, that we're in line with different goals.
Like the comprehensive plan committee or the planning board, none of those players so far.
Not yet, but it is part of our plan to do that, to make sure that we are listening to all the to all the different facets of each community. And we have a point person for each community that we will be working with, and making sure that we're sort of funneling information in both directions in that way. Yay. Yeah, thank you, both. Okay. Yes, please do.
We'd be remiss if we didn't mention another partner that's also in the room tonight. Maine Department of Transportation is a key partner in this. We work very closely with Maine DOT and the communities in the region to prioritize transportation projects for future funding opportunities. So we do have Claire, who's our trusted partner at Maine DOT, representing the department tonight. And again, thanks, Claire, for making the trip. And we've to build on the community engagement, we've done a lot of that up front because there's 9 communities involved, and we want to make sure that the project progresses in a timely fashion. We've actually have a pretty robust memorandum of agreement where all 9 communities have signed off, Maine DOT has signed off, so that we're all moving in the same direction. So.
Thanks, Chris. I will ask for any other questions in just a second, but before I get there, moving on to the different activity centers. Over here to my left, we will start, and I should say, you can go in whatever order you would like. That's up to you. To my left here, we have put together a quiz about Route 1, so you can test your knowledge about Route 1. And there's Post-it notes around if you want to jot down your answers, and we will have someone over here available with the answers for you to check against. And depending on what level of expertise you have in the corridor, I will say I did this and I did not get them all right. Our team had a lot of fun pulling these different statistics. We are tallying how you did. So if you keep your score and then add your name in a sticky note to the board, the quiz leaderboard over there, we will pull some winners' names at the end, and we have some prizes to give out for that. And don't be deterred if you're even if you're on the lower end of the leaderboard, you are still eligible for a prize. No shame. And then moving on, the timeline here, Carl gave sort of a high-level overview of it, but there's a lot of really great information. Maybe you want to read the timeline before you do the quiz, just a hint. A lot of great facts over there, and sort of the last part of that gets into this project and why we are here. The next station is a big one, so we kind of have it split up a little bit in the back, but we have a map prepared for each of the communities to the north. As you've heard, the idea with this meeting was that we were generally targeting the Portland and northern communities. So we get into a little bit more detail there, and we ask for some of your feedback. Are there particular locations that you think are unsafe? Are there locations that you would like to see something different happen? And we have some colored stickers and some Post-it notes there for you to provide information. If you have questions, certainly we'll have folks around to be able to answer questions. And let's see, so that's those two. And then we will also have an activity center around the priority centers that you have heard about and what potential development might look like. That one's going to be really fun with the Legos that we keep teasing about. Just understanding we want to understand from you what your visions are for these spaces. And sometimes that can be hard if you are used to seeing the same thing on a corridor every day as you travel by, but we have a couple of example photos. And so we ask you to just kind of use your imagination on this and help us paint a different picture, or what the next picture might look like for your community. And lastly, perhaps once you have literally built up the new priority center in your community, we would like you to come to this board and tell us a little bit more about what that looks like. And so we have, by way of Post-it notes as well, we'll ask you to jot down, what are some of your observations about the corridor in different categories today, and then also how you think that could look in a better future for Route 1 moving forward. And so if you have any questions, as I said, we'll have staff along the way to help you answer questions about the activities, or if you're having a hard time picturing what something else might look like. There's no wrong answers here. And just, use your imagination, as we have said and aptly named the project, actually. Team, am I missing anything else? Yes. So one of the things that can be difficult about this, as I mentioned before, we recognize that this corridor exists already. We're not building a new corridor here. And so one of the things that can be difficult, particularly, like I said, if you're used to picturing the same things all of the time, is to recognize that reality means we can't build all the things. So we're not going to go back to scratch. We're not going to start completely over for this corridor. So recognizing that some of these things do require trade-offs. So as you are thinking about, perhaps you would like to see an additional bus route, or a much wider planted median along a section of this corridor. We can't create that space out of nowhere. So it has to come from something else. And understanding from the public what compromises you might be interested in seeing is very helpful for our team, so that we are not making that decision for you. We're interested in hearing what kind of trade-offs you would be willing to see. I think this shoulder is too wide. I would rather see a dedicated bike facility off the road. I don't want to ride next to Route 1 traffic, as one of many types of examples. And if you our facilitators will help remind you of this as you're going, but certainly if you're having a hard time, sometimes it can be easier to think about what we do want and what, not necessarily what trade-offs might come as a result of that. Please ask us. We'd be happy to talk through it with you and help maybe brainstorm a little bit about what might be possible or not be possible as part of some of these ideas. So yes, with that, a question?
My question is, what is the end product and how will it be used? Will funding follow prior?
Sure. Yeah. Yep. The question, and for any other questions, we'll pass you the mic so that those that are following along digitally can hear us all. Excuse me. The question was about what the end product of this is. So the takeaway from today is for us to take your input away and be able to have a clear understanding of what these communities are looking for in your community and future vision for the Route 1 corridor. Ultimately, that will be translated into several conceptual plans spread along the corridor. We don't know where those locations are yet because we want to hear from you about where it's important to make improvements. These concept level plans, we will prioritize them, again, based on feedback from the public and from our expertise, your municipal staff's input, public input, all of those things. And we will formulate these into a final report to be delivered back to GPCOG. And GPCOG will use this, and your communities will hopefully use this. We do not want to work on a plan that's just going to sit by the wayside. We're hoping that these projects, because of their robust engagement and involvement, will be representative of the types of improvements that communities will want to put forward for future funding opportunities. You could use them for informing your own municipal budget requests and partnerships with, Mike is here from Metro, so, other agencies. And the idea is that you have sort of each community will be able to partner with GPCOG to come away from this with a list of what those future projects might be that would help achieve this vision. Any other questions, either about the format for tonight or the project overall? Great. Okay. Well, with that, please have some pizza if you haven't already. Sign in if you haven't already. And then please find a board that you would like to get started on.